Okay, guys, we're here for another set of chapters in the one and only Ivan, right? Today, we are working on the one and only Ivan, lesson 7, and we're entering part 3 of the book, okay? So, last time we read, we had a really sad part of the story. There was a climax of the story that came, and not only did we learn more about Ruby, but we had to say goodbye to Stella. And so maybe now we'll see how that kind of changes the story a little bit. And we also know that Ivan made a promise to Stella that he would watch Ruby. Okay, so again, this is part 3. And the next 3 lessons, so that's today and then lesson 8 and lesson 9, are talking about stories of Ivan's past. And hopes for his future, or the future. Maybe it's his and Ruby's future. But we might learn a little bit more about Ivan's past, maybe where he came from, and his life in the wild, okay? So we're going to start reading the one and only Ivan. It's on page 121, okay? Once upon a time. All night, Ruby moans and sniffles. I pace my domain. I don't want to fall asleep in case she needs something. Ivan, Bob says gently, get some sleep, please, for your sake and for mine. Bob can't sleep unless he is on my stomach. I hear stirring. Ivan, Ruby calls. I rush to my window. Ruby, are you all right? I miss Aunt Stella, Ruby sobs. And I miss my mom, and I miss my sisters, and my aunts, and my cousins, too. I know, I say, because it's all I can think of. Ruby sniffles. I can't sleep. Do you know any stories? The way Aunt Stella did? Not really, I admit. Stories were Stella's specialty. Tell me a story about when you were little, Ruby pleads. She puts her trunk between the bars. Please, Ivan. I scratch the back of my head. I don't remember things, Ruby, I admit. It's true, Bob says, trying to be helpful. Ivan has a terrible memory. He's the opposite of an elephant. Ruby lets out a long, shivery breath. Oh, well, that's okay. Night, Ivan. And Bob. I listened to Ruby's soft sobs for a long, horrible minutes. Then I hear myself saying, once upon a time, there was a gorilla named Ivan. And slowly and deliberately, I try to remember. The grunt. I was born in a place humans call Africa, or call Central Africa, in a dense rainforest so beautiful, no crayons could ever do it justice. Gorillas don't name their newborns right away, the way humans do. We get to know our babies first. We wait to see hints of what might yet be. When they saw how much she loved to chase me around the forest, my parents decided on my twin sister's name, Tag. Oh, how I loved to play tag with my sister. She was nimble, but when I got too close, she would leap onto my unsuspecting father. Then I would join her, and we would bounce on that tolerant belly until he gave us the grunt, the rooting pig sound that meant enough. The game never got old, although my father might have disagreed. Mud. It didn't take long for my parents to find my name. All day long, every day I made pictures. I drew on rocks and bark and my poor mother's back. I used the sap from leaves. I used the juice from fruit. But mostly, I used mud. And that is what they called me. Mud. To a human, mud might not sound like much, but to me, it was everything. Protector. My family, which humans call a troop, was just like any other gorilla family. There were 10 of us. My father, the silverback, my mother, and 3 other adult females. A juvenile male called a blackback, and 2 other young gorillas. Tag and I were the babies of the group. We squabbled now and then, as families will, but my father knew how to keep us in line with a simple scowl. And for the most part, we were happy to do what we were meant to do. To feed and forage, and nap and play. My father was a master at leading us to the ripest fruit for our morning feasts and the finest branches for our night nests. He was everything a silverback is meant to be. A guide, a teacher, a protector, and nobody could chest beat like my father. A perfect life. Gorilla babies and elephant babies and human babies are not so different, except that a gorilla gets to spend the day riding on his mother's back, like a cowboy on a horse. It's a pretty great system from the baby's point of view. Slowly, carefully, a young gorilla begins to venture further and farther away from the safety of his mother's arms. He learns the skills he will need as an adult. How to make a nest of branches, weave them tightly, or they will fall apart in the middle of the night. How to beat your chest, cup your palms to amplify the sound. How to go vining from tree to tree, don't let go. How to be kind, be strong, be loyal. Growing up gorilla is just like any other kind of growing up. You make mistakes, you play, you learn, you do it all over again. It was, for a while, a perfect life. The end. One day, a still day, when the hot air hummed, the humans came. This is getting good, guys. Vine. After they captured my sister and me, they put us in a cramped, dark crate that smelled of urine and fear. Somehow I knew that in order to live, I had to let my old life die. But my sister could not let go of our home. It held her like a vine, stretching across the miles, comforting, strangling. We were still in our crate when she looked at me without seeing, and I knew that the vine had finally snapped. That's his sister. What do you think that means, guys? We'll talk later. The temporary human. It was Mac who pried open the crate. Mac who bought me, and Mac who raised me like a human baby. I wore diapers. I drank from a bottle. I slept in human beds, sat in human chairs, listened while human words swarmed around me like angry bees. Mac had a wife back then. Helen was quick to laugh, but quick to anger too, especially when I broke something, which was often. Here is what I broke while I lived with Mac and Helen. 1 crib, 46 glasses, 7 lamps, 1 couch, 3 shower curtains, 3 shower curtain rods, 1 blender, 1 TV, 1 radio, 3 toes, but they were my own. I broke the blender when I squeezed 3 tubes of toothpaste and a bottle of glue into it. I broke my toes attempting to swing from a lamp fixture on the ceiling. I broke 46 glasses Well, it turns out there are many ways to break a glass. Every weekend, Mac and Helen took me in their convertible to a fast food restaurant where they ordered me French fries and a strawberry shake. Mac loved to see the expression on the cashier's face when he drove up and said, "Can I have some extra ketchup for my kid?" I went to the baseball games and to the grocery store, to a movie theater, even to the circus. They didn't have a gorilla there. I rode a little motorbike and blew out candles on my birthday cake. My life as a human was a glamorous one. Although my parents, traditional sorts, would not have approved. Look at him there, this little baby. Hunger. In my new life as a human, I was well tended. I was well taken care for. I ate lettuce leaves with Thousand Island dressing and caramel apples and popcorn with butter. My belly ballooned. But hunger, like food, comes in many shapes and colors. At night, lying alone in my poo pajamas, I felt hungry for the skilled touch of a grooming friend, for the cheerful grunts of a play fight, for the easy safety of my nearby troop, foraging through the shadows. He's thinking of what happened before he came there, right? Remember what happened to Tag, I told myself. Don't think about the jungle. Still, sometimes I lay awake wishing for the warmth of another, just like me, asleep in a night nest of tender prayer plant leaves. I like having sips of soda poured into my mouth, like a bubbling waterfall, but every now and then I long to search for a tender stalk of arrowroot and to feel the tease of a mango just out of reach. Still life. One day Helen came home with something large and flat, wrapped in brown paper. "Look what I bought today," she said excitedly as she tore off the paper. "A painting to go over the living room couch." "Fruit in a bowl?" Max said with a shrug. Big deal. "This is fine art. It's called a still life," Helen explained. "And I think it's lovely." I dashed over to examine the painting, marveling at the colors and shapes. "See," said Mac's wife. "Ivan likes it." "Ivan likes to roll up poop and throw it at squirrels," Mac said. I couldn't take my eyes off the apples and bananas and grapes in the picture. They look so real, so inviting, so edible. I reached out to touch a grape. Helen slapped my hand. "Bad boy, Ivan, don't touch." She jerked her thumb at Mac. "Honey, go get a hammer and a nail, would you?" While Mac and Helen were busy in the living room, I wandered into the kitchen. A cake covered in thick chocolate frosting sat on the counter. I like cake. Love it, in fact. But it wasn't eating I was thinking about. It was painting. The frosting peaked and dipped like waves on a tiny pond. It looked rich and gooey, dark and smooth. It looked like mud. I scooped up a handful of frosting. I scooped up another. I headed to the refrigerator door. It was perfect. An empty, white, waiting canvas. The frosting wasn't as easy to work with as jungle mud. It was stickier and, of course, more tempting to eat. But I kept at it. I scraped off every last bit of that frosting. I may have eaten a little cake, too. I don't remember what I was trying to paint. A banana, most likely. I suppose I knew I was going to get in trouble. But at that moment, I just didn't care. I wanted to make something, anything, the way I used to. I wanted to be an artist again. Uh-oh, punishment. I soon learned that humans can screech even louder than monkeys. After that, I was never allowed in the kitchen. Babies. Back in those days, the Big Top Mall was smaller. It had a pony ride, a wooden train that bustled around the parking lot, a few bed-raggled parrots, and a surly spider monkey. But when Mac brought me, a baby gorilla dressed in a crisp tuxedo, to the mall, everything changed. People came from far and wide to have their pictures taken with me. They brought me blocks and a toy guitar. They held me in their laps. Once, I even held a baby in mine. She was small and slippery. Bubbles flowed from her lips. She squeezed my fingers. Her rear was puffy with padding. Her legs bowed like bent wings. I made a face. She made a face. I grunted. She grunted. I was so afraid she would fall that I squeezed her tightly, and her mother yanked her away. I wonder if my mother ever worried about dropping us. We always held on, but that's easy to do when your mother is furry. Human babies are an ugly lot, but their eyes are like our babies' eyes, too big for their faces and for the world. See how we described the diaper the baby was wearing? Beds. One day, after many weeks of loud talking, Helen packed a bag and slammed the front door and never came back. I don't know why. I never know the why of humans. That night, I slept with Mac in his bed. My old nests were woven of leaves and sticks and shapes like his bathtub, cool green cocoons. Mac's bed, like mine, was flat, hot, without sticks or stars. Still, he made a sleeping sound like the rumble my father used to make when all was well, a sound from deep inside his belly. Started with the snoring, right? Mac must be a snorer. My place. Mac grew sullen. What do you think that means? Yeah, he's a little sad. I grew bigger. I became what I was meant to be. Too large for chairs, too strong for hugs, too big for human life. I tried to stay calm, to move with dignity. I did my best to eat daintily. That's like fancy. And just carefully. But humans are hard to learn, especially when you're not a human. When I saw my new domain, I was thrilled. And who wouldn't have been? It had no furniture to break, no glasses to smash, no toilets to drop my keys into. It even had a tire swing. I was relieved to have my own place. Somehow, I didn't realize I'd be here quite so long. Now I drink Pepsi, eat old apples, watch reruns on TV. But many days, I forget what I am supposed to be. Am I a human? Am I a gorilla? Humans have so many words, more than they truly need. Still, they have no name for what I am. Okay, so we learn a little bit about Ivan, okay? And we find out a few things about him, right? So what I want you to think about, okay? We've talked about where he was born, how he got his name. He's got a twin sister. I don't know, even if I was a human, if my mom would be happy if I started to decorate the icing or use the icing from a cake to use it as paint on the dish or the refrigerator door, right? That wasn't exactly the greatest idea I think that Ivan has had. Okay, so what I want you to think about is all of the stuff that Ivan was talking about. Okay, different pieces from his life. Okay, his stories from the past, right, and his hopes for the future. Okay, and I want you to think, maybe this says Ivan's snapshots and visions. So maybe draw a picture of Ivan as the baby, a picture of Ivan making the drawing on the refrigerator, a picture of Ivan wanting to eat the fruit in the painting, a picture of Ivan drawing on the rocks in the jungle with his mom. You know, think of the stories that you've heard about Ivan, and I want you to draw a picture for me, okay? I hope you guys have a great night, great day, and I can't wait to read lesson 8.